Yo, so I was thinking about this like movement for like no street.
Right onto Tanner's Mill Drive, then take the first right onto South Mineral Springs Road.
No street dudes. And you know, how could you say no to that, right? And be like dumb, but
sign, turn right onto South Mineral Springs Road.
I will say this though. Unfortunately, you see other race folks, they have like family and close friends where they can
turn right onto Sharon Road,
where they can see how wealth is built. You know, they may have being in a different culture where their culture was preserved, and you know, people, let me tell you something. When you become like wealthy, right? When you're comfortable financially, that's when you become wise in your situation that you're in your society that you're in. It's obvious reasons. You know, you
at the next light, turn right.
You're not thinking about, you know, that 9 to 5 as hard. You know what I'm saying? Because while you're physically at work, see, and I keep on going off, but life is like, picture a record. Most of y'all kids don't know what a record is, maybe, or whatever, but
at the light, turn right onto Sharon Road.
Picture a road. It's the only thing I can think of right now, right? And behind you, right, it's burnt up. Like you'll never see this road again, right? But you're traveling down this road. Life, your very moment, you know, your hours, your minutes are so important on what you do, you know, that you have to make sure you're doing something that's productive, and you feel good. That's why you have to think about what you do daily, you know, and what you involve yourself with, you know, because you can burn up that exact time. You know, if you think about it,
turn right onto T.W. Alexander Drive.
If you think about it, right? Okay, let's just say you want to get rich. If you spend those exact minutes thinking about how to become wealthy, how to become rich, or doing something that'll get you closer to becoming wealthy, it's inevitable that you're going to get to that goal. It's the minutes and seconds and hours you spend on getting to that goal. It's not as hard as people think. People think, oh, you got to be this, you got to be smart. Our society is built off of an 8th grade comprehension level. I guess it's getting advanced now, but for so many years, the majority of it, everything, you know, a lot of it is still built off of a 8th grade comprehension level. You know what I'm saying? So that means someone that has especially in America, someone that doesn't know how to do much, but they got the basics down. Like they can walk, talk, you know, do stuff like that, right? If they think about people hear me say A to Z, you know, a lot, because to me, that's what, like, how I designed it in my head. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, the thought down to the action, what you're gonna do, the product or the service, down to the exchange of dollar and why, the who, what, when, where, and why of it. I calculate to an A to Z in my head or whatever. But my point is like, you don't have to have that much experience with life, like with a certain product or service. You're gonna go through a little bit of humiliation depending on how smart you are or how, you know, dumb you are or whatever. But you will get to that goal if you say to yourself, no, I don't. And it's gonna be just when just when you think like, oh man, I bet you won't even get the words out of your mouth, you'll start to see things change into, wait, this is going my way. You know, this is the way, this is the direction I would like it to go. Now you got to steer what you got in a never-ending right direction. You know, with that being said, you know, what we have regarding what we were talking, what I was talking about with, you know, this movement of no street dudes, or however you call it, or however it's formulated. You know, yeah, it's always a good thing. Don't be in the street. But you got to think, how did the streets, you know, and I do that on almost everything. It takes up a lot of my thought on what you know, what do I think about something, you know, whatever. A lot of my time I've always had to, you know, take it home, think about it, think about the other person's position on it, and then go and express it or make a decision. You know, that's how I was able to, you know, formulate my do's and don'ts like that, you know. But my point is, like, the streets, right? And we're not necessarily talking about a narcotic that's gonna kill somebody, you know, whatever like that immediately. But society, you know, as a whole, we live in like millions and millions and millions of bubbles, meaning, like, you know, you may have, especially if they're not worried about finances to the point of like poverty. Even impoverished people in a situation where finances is messed up, right? You know, they're thinking of a situation where they can always get out of it and stuff like that, right? A lot of times, you know, these streets, that's what worked. You know, that's how they was able to become or get or take care of, or whatever the case is, are these ugly streets. And what I mean by bubbles are people sit in like situations where you got your employment, right? Those friends. Then you got your friends that you probably grew up with, or that you happen to, you know, form a little circle. You got your family. You have the guy down the street, right? Whatever, right? That's your bubble. And a lot of times, friends, right, and family, right, they will lie to you the hardest. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, like, a lot of times people either agree or listen so that just so they can tell you their situation or their problem or what they're going through. You know, it's usually a selfish situation, which is normal, you know what I'm saying? But that's how it normally, reasons why. And a friend will tell you some bullshit way faster than someone that don't care nothing about you will, you know, or whatever. So what I mean by a bubble is, like, people sit in these bubbles, and people are yesing to death. That's how the person or the entertainer that worked on stage and they makeup ain't right, or they moves ain't what they used to be. You know, for a lot of reasons, family and friends and employees will tell you some bullshit just so that can continue. My point, right, just to go and make a point is, you know, you take away this street element, right? A lot of people will be in situations where they are unhappy on how they take care of themselves, you know. Nobody woke up and said, you know what, using drugs as a example, nobody woke up at all and said, you know what, I'm about to start supplying my neighborhood with narcotics that's gonna kill people. Nobody looks at it like that at all. It starts off as a desperate, you know, move. I remember when I was a kid, you know, I was like 18, 19 or whatever, and I had unfortunately just got out of jail or whatever, you know, in the streets. It's like a normal black man in America. My parents was in debt in a house that, you know, that they was basically blessed with. Like they paid for it, but it was just a lot less than what's normal. So here it is, my 18-year-old ass felt guilty because I'm like, damn, here it is, I'm taking up space.
Use the left lane to make a U-turn.
I'm in, you know, you know, they done gave me, you know, I got a room here and shit like that. What am I doing? This is days before I got out. So I got with, you know, so I got with people who basically, you know, had that. And boom. I mean, within like 3 weeks, I reached that goal. You know what I'm saying? Because I was thinking of it as like a job. You know what I'm saying? I was thinking of it like
1 mile,
like a job.
onto I-885 South.
I was thinking of it like a job. So I saved heavy, hard, and fast. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever. And eventually, you know, very fast, I got to that goal. Now, what do? You just let this go now? Like you just, you know, you got money coming in. You got, you know, you don't got a whip yet. You know, you come out of jail. You're going to need, you know, you think you need or whatever clothes that are of that decade or day or whatever the case is, you know, newer clothes. You need transportation. You want to go out. You want to look good. You want to be independent. So it's hard to let go. And people don't think about it. A lot of dudes don't think about it. But, you know, even a small guy that's selling ounces ends up, you know, I don't know where it's at now, whatever like that. But let's just say every other day you getting rid of 28 grams at retail cost, you know. So it's like $100. You know, it's like back then it was like $120 a gram for, you know, and you're buying that gram for between 18 and like 22 a gram, you know. Every other day you're going to get more, and it's costing you roughly, I don't know what does that add up to, 22 or something like that, but it's not much considering what it was. Yes, closer, but yesterday, you know, it's not a lot of money or whatever like that. You know, you're making over $1,000 every other day. You know, more than that. What am I talking about? You're making, you know, thousands of dollars every day or whatever. And if you're in these areas,
go past this light, then at the next one, turn left.
It used to be if you're in these, you know, these messed up areas, that's where like the customers was at.
Use the left lane.
But then,
I-885
and like when I got out, matter of fact, I realized two things. One, I didn't like. It kind of made me a little angry. I started messing around in all white neighborhoods. I have met someone, right? And I had started messing around in an all white neighborhood. Now, in the hood, you know, especially Long Island, we used to have like houses where we sold drugs out of, right? And you do what you got to do to make sure that house is consistent. You know what I'm saying? Everybody know in the neighborhood, you know, we used to got an Ave, and then there's like residential streets off of the Ave. You know, you got Suffolk, you got Lowell, you got Carlton, you got what's the one over there near Isop Ave? I forgot. You got different areas or whatever where you got this going on, you know what I'm saying, or whatever, and there's specific houses that sell drugs, right? So you protect those houses, and we look at it like, you know, we was like, damn, my house is clicking today, and it would have customers coming for 20s, 30s, 50s, and hundreds all day long, right? I'm like, yeah, it's a good day, and you'll make good money. When I got to this white neighborhood, right, and I was basically plugged in where like, oh, well, yeah, he's got shit. And I sold coke. I didn't sell crack. I sold crack in the hood, but I sold coke in these white neighborhoods, right?
Use the right lane to keep.
Oh my gosh. First of all, after a while, you're not moving for anything less than a couple of hundred. Because you almost start to have no respect for money. You have no respect for money anymore. You know, you don't, you know, the price of $1 ruins you. Like you know, you have no respect for $1 anymore. So now, you know, due to the income ratio, you know, people spend a lot more money, you know, and this different race people. See, first of all, in a white neighborhood, a crack house ain't like a crack house in the hood. Crack house in the hood, ain't no grass in the front. You got dudes standing out front because they trying to get a couple of dollars when customers come by. You know, you got violence that's happening because you got groups of dudes that disagree or is trying to look good or whatever the case is. And then you got neighbors that's calling the cops because they done spent good money on their house. And now next door they got some crazy cinematic 8K crazy ass Boys in the Hood movie going on. White neighborhood, beautiful home. You know, there's a door. First of all, how you notice this is the crack houses, you're gonna see construction, you know, contractor trucks, all in the all up and down the street. You know, plumbing, HVAC, whatever service company it is, a whole bunch of vans. And when you go in this house, it's different. It's a beautiful, you know, basement, you know what I'm saying, or whatever like that. It's usually a man cave of some sort, right? And it's a peaceful situation. Ain't nobody bugging out or whatever, you know, arguing or whatever. So you'll see. So imagine if you got like 8 to 10 or 12 contractors, right, that are friends, that meet at this house to go and get shit, right? They're sitting there waiting patiently. Ain't nobody stressing them. Ain't no police in the street, you know, or whatever that's on the beat looking for nobody. That police never pass by. You ain't got to worry about beat cops. It's detectives after a while, you know. So you'll see these people, and a lot of times it'll be couples, you know, just trying to break away from the monotony of everyday living, of okay living. Everything's going, sometimes you just want to fuck up, I guess, I don't know, or whatever the case is, you know. A lot of times the goddamn addict is better off than the hustler, you know, as far as financially thinking, structure in their lives and stuff like that, you know. Because that's their getaway. They work all week, Friday come and they could party. Now, if they're a contractor that's, you know, pulling in 4, 5, or 6 projects for their own selves a week, you know, you talking $6,000 to $15,000 projects, right? They can spend a little money a week, you know, and then you got several of them, right? So then now you got the wife and husband, right? The kids are upstairs. Yeah, I'm gonna let you play with the kids upstairs. Be good. Now, mom and dads are in the basement with their socks off, with these expensive pipes. Serious, okay? And you come down, hustle, man, and you'll move literally an ounce of shit just in that one house. Also, the crackhead, the hustler, the drug dealer don't run the house. You know why? Because the customer is in control of how, you know, of what's going on. Usually in the hood, a customer, a so-called crackhead, he has nothing. The only thing he has is that house. And you turned it into a spot to make money. You know, so I'm off track. But anyway, to end that, a lot of times, you know, you become very, 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 very wealthy. And a lot of times, like myself, you know, I wasn't using it to buy guns and murder people in the street. I was taking care of home. You know, a lot of times employment, oh my God, y'all will bug over the shit I've been through just because I work for somebody. You know, and how you treat it daily and stuff like that. Black men, I ain't gonna hold you, man. Y'all can say whatever y'all want. But a lot of times, we are treated like raw garbage, okay? And if you can make it through the raw garbage and have a super need for you to be there, then you kind of can make it past, all right, we're going to keep him, he's kind of in. You know what I'm saying? It's changing today. But when I was a kid, whew, oh my gosh. You know, it was a situation. So you want to be treated like a man. A lot of times you just want to be treated like a man. That's what goes on with these police. You know, you get a dude that's been living his life 25, 30 years, 35-year-old man, got 2 kids, provides for a home, you know, for the last 5 to 8 years. Looks up when he walks down the street like a man. Okay, been through hell and back regarding police just pulling them over and treating them like raw garbage. Been through so many situations like that, right? And then he reaches a certain age, he says, yo, I don't want to be treated like that. Like I'm not gonna let this young boy treat me like this no more. But this young boy of 22, 23 years old is the law, right? He's a cop. And that's all he knows is, I'm not even going to say what he knows, right? Because how can I know everything, right? It just happens to be a lot of times these cops act and treat the way I'm about to describe, you know. It'd be a situation where, you got your kids in the car, right? And it's, sit down. Now you're sitting down next to his feet on a curve while he runs your license, okay, or whatever. And it's the finger pointing. And now listen, let me tell you something. What I'm about to say, you take this. Now he's talking like this to you in front of your kids and your wife, okay? Not to mention you're older than him, right? You done been through a lot in life. Not to mention, you ain't even do nothing wrong. He just seen a black dude in the car. He don't know how what's the hustler or what's the drug dealer or what's the one that's trying to shoot or kill. That's all he knows is the dude is black. So check him out thoroughly. And the more he says anything, the more not to believe. So how could you? Why you think it's so many more of us locked up than it is? It's another situation. I keep on jumping situations, but my point is sometimes you don't want that damn no more street. That's something that we kind of own, that black market. And let me tell y'all something. The mafia and black folks have 2 different no snitching laws. Okay? Let me tell you something.
Turn left onto Highgate Drive, then take the first right onto
Our no snitching came to, think of a community, right? Area, all black area, right? Where, you got
in a quarter mile, turn right onto Highway 54.
your normal legal and illegal things going on. You may have a young girl, maybe 18 to 20 years old, starting off selling, literally as like young 15-year-olds selling candy out their window or ices. Y'all ever had that when y'all was a kid? You got the lady that sells ices at the house in the corner block, right? Now everybody know her, but that person grows up in a whole bit.
At the light, turn right onto Highway 54.
So next thing you know, them ices turned into weed. Okay? Then that weed turned into coke. Now the reason why she doing it, because how she start off. What she talk about when you see her at the local store? Oh my God, my kids. I don't know what I'm gonna do next month when they got this recital. I don't know what. Oh, we got school starting. So you already know why she hustling, right? Because the job market, right? You obviously she would rather go and get a 9 to 5, right? But a 9 to 5, a respectable job, a 9 to 5 where she's making enough money to go and take care of herself, it's just, for some reason, let's just say it comes far and less in between, however you say that, right? You know, it ain't too many of them, you know, or whatever. So
at the light, turn right onto Crooked Creek.
what's available
Then turn
next
right into the
is
parking
this
lot.
hustling, right? So she you know, she started to sell these things or whatever like that just started off, like I said earlier, start off as a means to take care of yourself, and it
Turn right into the parking
goes
lot.
into hustling, and now it's a little bit, it's not a desperate situation anymore, but that money still comes in. So, you know, that turns into, you know, a situation where people
Enter
are
the
buying
parking lot
weed
for
or
your
whatever like
destination.
that from the house. If that individual, right, gets caught, right, he gets caught, don't bring down the whole shit, you know, don't tear up the whole shit. It's got the same basis as, you know, the Italians, but that's in their laws and stuff like that, you know. And these, you know, the Italian mafia lasted 70 years, okay? You know, they was out murdering people, and they didn't get busted up and, like, you know, they killed the American mafia, or they watered down the American mafia because of the murders. They did it because of the organization ability. You know, that was, anytime you got a situation where they're organized to that degree, the government don't like that, and it's going to be destroyed. You know, anything that's organized, what, you know, you got the mafia, you got Black Panthers, you got all of these organizations, they're going to be broken up because they can't have anybody organized and happy. That's going to take away from, you know, what their agenda, their goal is. Okay, that's their job, they feel. You know what I'm saying? And that, you know, they're going to destroy that, because they know a people that come together and that thinks without the government, you know, that's dangerous or whatever. But, you know, you got what my point is, you know, these streets, a lot of it is what, you know, is what they have. And if America pops that bubble and looks at how their life is living so well, and who's the guy that brings or makes or fixes or produces or whatever behind the scene of their good life, you know, they come from that other side where life is ugly. You know, if you knew what the ugliness of what life you know, what you have to do, well, what is necessary, the behind the scene necessities for life to go on, as pretty as it is, okay, to go and flash to other countries as if we're doing so well. But what's, you know, the guy in the back factory part, okay, that's making this work, life is hell. Or the ugliness that, you know, that happened so that this cover up beautiful situation keeps on happening. You know, the trick is, the government wants as many people as possible to live in this bubble of there's no violence, they're overreacting, ain't nobody hurting you, ain't nobody doing, you know, you guys are just complaining, you guys want more, you got, for some reason they never think about history. You just think about our history. Anyway, I ain't even gonna get into that, but my opinion is, nah, for a specific reason, it's kind of what a lot of us in these cuts of America have. And these entertainers that's living this very good life, this wholesale life, everything is wholesale now. You got this internet that turned everybody into merch sellers, selling merch, you know, and all of this stuff right here. And content equals money, you know, which I knew was coming, you know, or whatever, years ago, like 2008. I knew it was going to form into this, that that email will become valuable. You know, I used to say that a lot, you know, but I ain't do nothing about it, like a whole bunch of people didn't do nothing about it. But anyway, Damn, y'all ain't even see me all of this time, but it's not like y'all want to see a motherfucker anyway. I just be trying to get my voice across, you know, and talk to us, man, specifically us black men, so that, you know, we could think about the situations that we face every day and how it could become easier for each other, you know, for the individual person. You know, you think that a lot of other races just face stuff by themselves and end up being super successful all by themselves? No. Okay, power is in numbers, and you may not 100% agree with them, but for what as a whole people got going on, we must go inside with it. You know, next time I talk to y'all, I'm gonna tell you something like crazy that an old boss, when I was like 16 years old, when I first had my daughter, I had to get a job, you know, or whatever like that. And I just got into this pool construction. Like, we built pools for a living, you know, or whatever like that. In the summer times, and it was a fun, you know, damn, what my own boss name is, man, Messina, Frank Messina, and how, as an Italian man, he put me under his wing. I want to talk to you about that, but now I'm talking about what these entertainers is talking about, how, you know, no street dudes or something like that. However, it's how does it go or whatever? But anyway, that's the topic that I'm talking about. Hit me up in my comments and tell me what you think about my opinion. All right, peace.